What is going on, everybody? What's happening? Control for Days here. Today, we are jumping into a Modern League with a little series I like to call Clinical Research. I'm going to be open and honest with you. This is the second time I'm filming the introduction to this video. The first time, I was beating around the bush. It was taking a little too long for me to get to the point, so I'm redoing it, and I'm going to keep it honest and open with you. The video we're filming today is one that is almost a challenge unto myself. A few videos ago, like 2 weeks ago, I filmed a league with Modern Yawgmoth, and my first match of the league, I lost to this aberration of a deck that was an aspiring spike brew, of which he called it Cottage Blast. I proceeded to say some not so nice things about the deck construction, and basically I didn't think too highly of the deck. So today, I'm going to give this deck a little bit of a chance, this Cottage Blast deck. And I'm going to see if it actually has teeth, if it's viable within the modern format, or if it is the nonsense that I initially thought it was. The list that I'm running today is one of Spike's iterations of the deck. It's not the deck I played against exactly, but there's some variations and some changes that were made, modifications if you may, to improve upon the initial list that I had played against. I'm going to run you through the deck list, show you how it works, and then we're going to run through a league and see how it goes. So Calibrated Blast, which is kind of the cornerstone of this deck, has been an entity in the modern format for a while. Basically what this does is it deals damage equal to the revealed casting cost of a card off the top of your library. So you basically flip cards until you hit a non-land spell, and then it deals damage equal to that spell. So the value of this cards comes with high casting cost cards. So you flip and you hit like a 12 drop, a 15 drop, and you do that much damage to your opponent. So it's basically like a one-shot kill if you flip the right card. Typically this card is played in decks where it's nothing but high casting cost cards, but Aspiring Spike switched it up and has been running this list where he combines these high casting cost creatures, Shadow of Mortality and Scion of Draco, and the way he gets them onto the top of the deck is with this card Witch's Cottage, where basically if it comes into the battlefield untapped, in which you need 3 other swamps to do so, you may put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. Put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. So the combination of those 2 cards kind of sets the top of your deck. You cast a Calibrated Blast, and then you 12 or 15 your opponent, hopefully killing them in the process. This deck list operates as more of a domain list, so there is a 5-color mana base, and we also have Territorial Kavu, Leyline Binding, and Shadow Prophecy to kind of round out the game plan. And we also have Lightning Bolt, Fable of the Mirrorbreaker, and Fury as just kind of like value solid cards within the colors. I want to disclose the list that I'm running is a little bit different than Spike's list. I had to make everything work within my Mana Trader subscription, so the mana base is a little bit different based upon what I had in my collection. I have polluted deltas in the list, which is not ideal. You would want to be running more Bloodstained Mires in an optimal list, so there's a little bit of an issue here, but it shouldn't be too big of an issue over the course of the league. Sideboard, I made some tweaks based on what Aspiring Spike, I keep wanting to call him Inspiring Spike, but Aspiring Spike ran in his list. I cut a Path of Peril, I cut a Pithing Needle, I added some Wear Tears, and just made some small changes to what he was doing. So we're going to run this through a league, and I am going to see if what I thought, my initial impressions were correct, if this deck is in fact nonsense, or if it's actually got some, some substance to it. We're going to find that out together. I'll let you know my final thoughts at the end of this video, but let's jump into the league and see how it does. Cottage Blast, let's go. All right, who's excited for this one? We are jumping in. This is match 1 of our Modern League with Cottage Blast, a Spike Brew. We are going to be on the play. I like that. We are playing against Ibio. Shout out to Ibio. What's up? Let's get after it. Opening 7. Yeah, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. We'll mulligan that one. 6-card hand. Not great mana here. We can't actually cast our Kavu on 2, but we do have some interactions, so I think we'll probably keep this. Island, Swamp, Mountain, Plain. So we're 1 mana off of being able to cast our Draco. So if we pull a fetch land and get a green source, it will kind of open up our hand pretty significantly. So I think we're going to keep this, and we're going to get rid of the Shadow of Mortality and just hope to kind of hold down the fort until we can cast these other cards. So we'll keep, dump this. I actually don't even know what this card does. I just know it's 15. If your life total is less than your starting life total, this spell costs X less to cast. Okay, so it can, if you're at 7 life, it costs 2 mana. Good to know. We'll put that on the bottom. And we don't really know what our opponent's doing, so I think we're just going to be playing out our Xander's Lounge, turn 1, and then pass the turn. We are in for a treat today. Let's go. Let's go. So best draw, turn 2, fetch land. Hopefully we can pull that. And then we are missing white and green. So we do have that. We have access to that in our deck. There's the fetch land. That does not... Oh, it does get a white-green land, so we will get that. I'm going to fetch. We'll shock and get our Temple Garden. Yes. And then I think we lead on the Kavu here. Kavu will fix our hand a little bit, and it will also, with its loot ability, and it also poses a bigger threat than the Scion as it stands. So our opponent have a Spell Snare in the deck. We're going to crank out some big creatures here. Alright, we got a Xander's Lounge, so this feels like creativity. Or maybe they're doing the same thing we're doing. Who knows? We're just going to run Kavus into each other. Mine will have first strike, though, I believe. Okay, so we're playing against creativity. So I think this hand lines up pretty well against them because it's so aggressive. Okay, we'll be dumping that. Let me just see if it matters. So we'll have Trample and First Strike. So that's not going to affect our combat at all. So I'm just going to swing in for 5, put them down to 14. Then I'll play out the Scion. We'll discard a card. We'll discard the Shadow. And we drew a Blast. What a blast. Okay. And I'm going to play out this Scion. 2 mana, 4/4. So that's 9 damage on the table. 12. So if they fetch Shock, this Bolt will just kill them. There's also a good chance this Calibrated Blast just kills them. I don't think... I'm going to Shock it in. I think we're just probably bolting them. EOT. We'll leave this up. And if we pull a black fetch land, we can get Witch's Cottage, put the Shadow on top, and then just hit them for 15, which is just auto-lethal from there. Okay, they play out a land untapped. I'm going to bolt them down right now. So we'll go down to 9. So we're representing lethal, so they have to deal with one of our creatures here. Another bolt. Okay. We're going to move to combat and attack. And I'm going to discard the Fury here. Just because if I find a fetch land, as I stated. Alright, binding, not terrible. So we can deal with 2 of their tokens as it stands. So they have to do something here. Paying costs, and a Prismari Command. Okay, sure. Discard a Spell Pierce and a Fable. Okay, they're going to take a hit for 5. And then I'm going to pass the turn from here. I'm going to either blast them EOT, depending on what they do, or I'll bolt them if they fetch. So they're in a little bit of a predicament. If they play out a Dwarven Mind token, we can always binding that too. I think they're probably pretty close to dead here. Okay, there's a fetch land. Feel free to use it. Fable. Sure. So I'm going to blast them EOT, and I'm going to try to just bait them into using their fetch. Okay, so yeah, if they fetch Shock here, they'll just be dead to this bolt. Yep, they're at 1. Not really where they want to be. Blast is in the graveyard. Upkeep, I'm just going to bolt them. I don't want to slow roll them. Moving on. Alright, game 2, we're up 1. Alright, so we were playing against Indomitable Creativity. I could see Wear Tear being reasonable here. I don't know if it's actually good or not, but I think it's very reasonable, and I think Thoughtseize is as well. Probably shave on Shadow Prophecies. Like, I feel like our strategy of just like attacking is probably pretty good. I'll shave a Shadow. We can shave a Blast. Maybe I only go 2 Thoughtseize. I feel like just like the core of our deck is good against what they're doing. So I don't know how much we actually need. Fable Blast. Yeah, I think I'm okay with this. Bolt hits down their creatures. We're on the draw too. Maybe I can shave a land on the draw and keep in the 4th blast just to hit them from long range. We'll go with that. Probably a pretty big difference on the play versus on the draw with this deck, I would imagine. Alright, so this opening 7, does this afford us a turn 2 Scion? So we can get blue. No, we won't be able to have a turn 2 Scion. We'll keep this. I think this hand's a little slow, but having the interaction on turn 1 I like. Like, we needed this to be any other fetch land that gets a red or a black. So we can get our, I think it's Xander's Lounge that gets us that one. That's the one we need to get. Alright, so let's see. So Kavu, yeah, our mana's messy this game. We'll pay 2 life, and we'll lead on a Thoughtseize. We have mana up. Okay, their hand is fairly redundant. The lightning bolts don't really matter, I don't think. Like, if they want to double bolt something, I think we're okay with that. So I think we get rid of it to Teferi. So I don't think either of our hands are very good right now. Right, Bloodstained Mire, and they pass the turn. Alright, another Marsh Flats, the land we did not want. So we'll play that out, and then we'll pass the turn, and we'll get ourselves our Fable out next turn, and then we'll start kind of fixing our draws from there. Okay, so they're on 5 color, if that was not apparent. So they will have Leyline Bindings. There's their Bloodstained Mire, and I imagine a Teferi's coming out here. Okay, there's the Teferi. They have 4 cards in hand. We know 2 of them. We'll see if they minus here. And they do, which opens them up a little bit. Yield until the end step here, and then I'm going to fetch, and I need to figure out what I can get. Oh, I can get the Xander's Lounge. Maybe that was right to get that turn 1. What's this one get? Plains, Swamp, Forest. We have the Swamp. I think we get the Xander's Lounge. So we have 4 land types at this point. So what are we missing? Green? Missing green here. Okay, so we can't necessarily kill from here, but I think we can get close. How much does this thing cost? That costs 4. Okay, I think we're going to get the Fable out. Where's the green? Green-white? Is that what I want? I guess so. Mana's tricky with these decks. Alright. So what we want here is we want them to deal themselves some damage, and then we will loot with our Fable, hopefully have a fetch land, put the Shadow on top, and then blast them. There is the chance that they have a Spell Pierce at this point. They've drawn 4 different cards since we started, since we initially looked at their hand, but hopefully we can kind of sneak it in. There's the Bolt. We knew about that, which means we're not getting creativity this turn, which is nice. There's a fetch land. No fetch shock, unfortunate. Okay, so we're going to dump, yes, I think we're going to dump the Shadow Prophecy, or definitely the Shadow, and maybe the Blood Crypt. No, I think we're going to get rid of the Shadow Prophecy because it ensures that we can Calibrated Blast twice. Alright, we drew another Scion, not great. We didn't get a fetch land either, so I think we're just going to be playing out 2 of our creatures, hoping that they don't hit us with a creativity on their turn. Pretty big difference play draw in this matchup too, I would say. Let's see if they get a dwarf. No dwarf. Okay, so they don't have a Calibrated Blast as of yet, or a Indomitable Creativity, otherwise they would have gotten a dwarf. Okay, they uptick, sure. Arid Mesa, and they pass the turn. They have 4 cards in hand. We know one of them is a Lightning Bolt. Okay, gives us another creature here. We don't want that Swamp. We want a fetch land. We'll attack at them, and we will draw a card and discard a card. And I think we're going to discard the Shadow. There's a Triumph, also not what we want. Damage, they're down at 12. So if we blast them, we can put them down. I mean, we could potentially kill them, but I think we're just going to get another creature in play. And then we're going to cycle this Triumph, attempting to find a fetch land on our next turn. So, strange we haven't come across another fetch land at this point in the game, with as many that are in the deck. Alright, they bolt the Fable, sure. Like, even if they creativity for 2 here, it's not the end of the world, because we can flash back our Calibrated Blast. So we have a little bit of insurance if that happens. Now, if they have something like a Spell Pierce, that will change that, but bounce the Kavu, draw a card. They're at 7 life. So now we can actually blast them during their turn, which, depending on what's on the top of our deck, could just be lethal for them. They're down to 6. Blood Crypt down to 4. 6 mana. Not sure what they're doing here. Okay, so they're going to creativity for 3. I got it. We draw a card. Alright, so we got there. We're 1-0. Alright, match 2 of our Modern League with Spiring Spikes Cottage Blast nonsense. We are currently 1-0. We see a Gigantha revealed from Clockzombie on the opposite side of the battlefield. We are on the draw. The sand is medium, but I mean it just kind of functions as just like a normal kill creatures kind of strategy. So I think we're going to keep it and then, you know, hope that our top decks pull us into some things. Our mana should be okay. We should be able to go Xander's Lounge into Temple Garden. So we'll have our full domain right off the bat. But we will be killing that, so we will not actually have our full domain. Alright, so we're going to start fetch, and I will get Blood Crypt here. We will pay the 2 life, and we will murder this Ragavan and pass the turn. Ragavan is no more. Alright, Scalding Tarn from our opponent, and they pass the turn. So with a Gigantha, I'm not exactly sure what they're representing as it stands. Here, I think I'm just going to play out my Xander's Lounge. So we're kind of representing creativity as it stands. Our opponent doesn't really know what we're doing as of yet. Okay, so this might be... not sure what they're doing over there. Ice Fang. Okay, so this is just like a 5-color good cards kind of strategy. Which they're kind of like a slow, dirtily deck, I would imagine. And if that's the case, I think we're going to be able to prey on that. Like, Blast is just such a big hit against those decks that I think it's probably a pretty bad matchup for them. Alright, we're flooding out a little bit here. I think we want to save our fetches. And then I think I'm just going to save my Blast as well. I think. So I think I'm just going to play out the Temple Garden and pass the turn. Might be a mistake. We'll see. We'll see. Like, the second I can get a fatty into my graveyard, they're pretty much just dead, though. It'll just be game over from there. Ice Fang, we'll take another hit. We'll go down to 15. That's fine. Okay, more lands. More lands, more lands. I don't think... we just want a way to filter. We want, like, a Shadow Prophecy. That would be good. I think we're going to play out the Tomb tapped, and then we'll pass the turn once more. I wonder if they have a hand of, like, Solitudes and Furies. Oh! Interesting. Okay, so is this a mirror match, maybe? Is that what this is? Or are they just running that card for value? Okay. This is interesting. They fetch. So they are very much in range of what we're trying to do. It might even just be worth it to just blast them and hope to hit something off the top. We'll see. We could have just blasted now and just, like, hoped to kill them. They're paying costs. Play out a land. 2, 3 to Ferry. I think I'm just going to blast them in response to this. We'll see if this is good enough. Let's see what we reveal. They're fetching, play a land, and they're going to counterspell this. Mana leak, okay. No. The Ferry, they uptick, they have 3 cards in hand. Okay, drew another Calibrated Blast. I think from here I'm probably going to knock down this Teferi. I think I'm just going to fetch basic here. Like, they're not really doing much of anything, so just going to get basic swamp. I didn't realize if I had double red there, so I'll just cast a Fury. So we'll hit 1, 3, and we'll go with that. I have to imagine they have some form of removal for this Fury, which is fine. But we can actually, like, put it to the top with the Witch's Cottage, blast them, and then potentially do it again, like to hit them for 10. Or if they fetch Shock, we'll just be able to bolt and blast them. So we'll see. They have 4 cards in hand. Bolt the Fury, sure. Okay, they have 3 cards in hand. Okay, we just have Calibrated Blasts galore. So if they have counter magic, so I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to start by bolting down this Teferi. Oh. And then I'm going to blast them EOT. I'll put the Fury on top. They're going to Shadow Prophecy here, sure. Omnath, okay. And I wonder if I just Cottage into Blast right now and put them down to 3. Wonder if that's the move. Like, if they have a Spell Pierce, they'll be able to cut me off of that blast, but... Okay. Yes. And I'm going to blast them right now. and we'll yield through the turn. So they have 4 cards in hand. This is Omnath, so they'll go up to 7. Now if they cast a fetch land, they'll put us out of range. Actually, this will still just be lethal. So if they fetch during our turn, I think I'm actually going to hold off on the blast. I'm just going to kill this Omnath. They fetch. If they shock here, okay, so we're going to blast in response. And we have mana up for our mana leak, so this should just be lethal. Wait, what did we reveal? A shot. Oh, I thought Fury was on top. Oh, okay, I got it. I thought Fury stayed on top, so that's my bad. Oh, we drew another Calibrated Blast, sure. We have so many Calibrated Blasts, we don't know what to do with them all. Alright, so this is kind of like we're running into the issue that I have with the deck, which is that like we're popping off these Calibrated Blasts, but it's like a 3 mana deal 3, which is not good enough, unfortunately. Alright, so we'll fire off this blast end of turn, and then we're just basically just going to keep firing them off until we hit something. We're down to 9. 1, 2, Ren and 6, sure. So they're gaining 4 life a turn. And based on the way they played their last turn, we know they have a counter spell in hand of some sort, like a mana leak or something like that. Mana leak, sure. No. So if I had blasted during the upkeep, I would have just won there. But from here, we'll play out this Scion. And now we have blast up during their turn. And if they kill the Scion, we'll be able to put it on top and then just kill them from there. They do nothing. They have 4 cards in hand. They gain 4. Sure. Can't really attack here. They return a land. And we'll fetch. We are going to shock here. This could put us in harm's way. Next turn likely means that we'll just die. But I think we kind of have to do this. They're going to counterspell this. Quaddle, okay. They draw into a counter. Another Quaddle, okay. So they can block our Scion here. Alright, we hit them for 2. Yeah, I think we're just going to pressure their life total here. Just trying to one-shot them here. Let's see what we draw into. Okay, another Kavu. So they're kind of in a little bit of a predicament. Alright, I'm going to lead by casting out this Kavu. And then during their upkeep, I'm going to blast them again. Or EOT, I'll probably blast them again. We'll see if they fetch here. If they fetch, I'll blast them. Okay. They're at 10. They fetch again. So they're down to 9. So they're trying to gain the life here. They go up to 13. If we hit a shadow, we just win. There it is. We got there. We got lucky. We got very lucky. That does it. Alright. Whew. That's hard fought. But you saw, I mean, Calibrated Blast was kind of a dud there when we didn't have the ability to put a creature on top. It just kind of was very underwhelming. We're going to bring in our Wear Tears and our Thoughtseizes. And I think that is it. I wonder if they have Magus in their deck. I think there's a chance, but I'm going to hold off on using this Plains. Cards we want to get rid of. What is not good? I feel like Shaving on a Shadow is pretty standard. Blast is big game. Shadow Prophecy draws us cards. Kavu. I think on the draw we can probably shave a land again. They have counter spells. Fable is good. Shadow Prophecy is good. Fury is kind of medium. Like we saw the 1-drops and they have the Planeswalkers. But I feel like we have Binding or maybe Bolt isn't good enough. Maybe go like that. Alright, game 2. Game 2, match 2. Clockzombie. What you got? Alright, so this opener has... its mana is good, so I think we're going to keep this. I don't know if like fighting them on the creature access is where we necessarily want to be, but I think that this is... like, just because our mana is really clean this game, I think we want to keep this. So I just need to think. So we want to get the Temple Garden and the Xander's Lounge, I guess. So this will get us the Xander's Lounge, and then the Verdant will get us the Temple Garden. And then we'll have all of our colors on turn 2. Swamp, Mountain, Forest. Okay. Opponent has achieved... they've assembled Megatron here. 2 mana, Ren and 6. Card is good. Alright, so their mana is good for the rest of the game. Yield until the end step. Maybe, so Sacred Foundry. What's the other Triumph we have? Plain, swamp, forest, island, swamp, mountain. I kind of want to like leave behind a fetch land for this Shadow Prophecy if we draw into like a blast, but okay, so we'll have one there, so that's good. So from here, I'm going to get our Temple Garden. Yes. And we will play out a turn 2 5/5 and yield to the turn. It's probably going to get bindinged, but maybe it was better for us to binding this Wrenn and 6, but I don't know if that's where we want to be fighting them right now. So that's the land that I returned with Wrenn and 6 last turn. We know about that. It's a Ferry, sure. Get rid of the Kavu, sure. So this turn I think we're probably going to get rid of the Wrenn and 6 with the binding and then also play the Kavu back out. Or, that's actually pretty good too. Unfortunately, I'm not in a position where I can Thoughtseize and cast the Kavu. I can Thoughtseize and cast the Scion though, so maybe I do that. Unless I use the fetch land, but I don't want to use the fetch land. So we're going to start with the Thoughtseize here and see what they have. We're almost up to casting this Shadow here. So they have Atraxa, Leyline Binding. Interesting. Very interesting. I think we're going to hit this Binding and hope that they don't get to the point where they can cast Atraxa. Just try to clock them before that. Oh, they do have a Beseiju though. I didn't notice that. So I guess if they Beseiju, they kill our Scion. We can just get it back with a Witch's Cottage, draw it, and then just recast it the next turn. And play out the Heath we knew about. Get back a Misty. So they're a couple turns off of these Atraxa. They will get to that point. They have enough mana to be able to do that. Another land, another land, another land. So from here, what do I do? So I think I'm going to start by attacking into Wrenn and 6. I think I probably should have played out my fetch land first, maybe? No, this was fine. My only concern with Wrenn and 6 is that it ultimates. That's what I'm trying to avoid. But I guess I have the binding. I think I'll just attack into them. Just try to start clocking them a little more. Okay, so there's the Beseiju. We kind of knew about that. We'll use its ability. And then we will get... I think we'll just get a basic here just to preserve our life total a little bit. Second main. Cast out the Kavu. And then I'm also going to Shadow Prophecy here. Which if they want to counter that, I think we're okay with. And we have to do it... trying to fetch here. We have to do that now because of the Teferi. And they still have the binding in hand. So I think I want to get another... We have 2 red sources, 1 green, 2 white. It's either Overgrown Tomb or Blood Crypt. I think we're going to get a Blood Crypt. And now if we find a blast next turn... Okay, they fluster that. And I think that makes sense. No. Let that happen. Alright, fluster is gone. Beseiju is gone. If we find a blast, it's just lethal from there. They have 5 cards in hand. We know 3 of them. Teferi upticks. It's lethal if we can connect with the Kavu, which we may or may not be able to do. But if they even let us attack with the Kavu, we'll be able to discard the Shadow, which we can then Cottage back to the top. Play out a land, 6 cards in hand. Still 2 turns off of the Atraxa here. They're leaving up counterspell mana. So we know 3 of their 7. Okay, we're just going to move to combat. We know about a binding as well. Oh, and they are going to let us attack, it seems. Let us loot. We'll attack them. Discard a card. So I can discard the Shadow, which once again, if we find the Calibrated Blast, that represents lethal, but this is also a creature I can cast at this point. So I wonder if I just discard the fetch land. This is a little bit of a tricky one. I think I'm actually just going to be casting this out. We drew into a Thoughtseize. Okay, I'm going to lead Thoughtseize here. We'll see what they have. And then I'm probably going to binding down... Oh, I didn't mean to take that. That was a misclick. That was unfortunate. Okay, that really sucks. That really sucks. Yeah. So I was supposed to take the Goryo's Vengeance. Okay. That's really rough. That's going to cost me the game there. Alright, so they have 6 cards. They have 2 Beseijus. Oh my gosh. That is so bad. Yeah, we might just lose the game now because of that. They're going to have Atraxa in play, and then they're going to hit us. So I think what I have to do here, I think I'm going to Binding. And the question is, do I get rid of Teferi, or do I get rid of... Wrenn and 6. So they'll be able to ultimate the Wrenn and 6, but that doesn't really... They don't really have anything to use it with outside of the Vengeance. but they won't have anything else to Vengeance back. I think we actually get rid of the Teferi here. Maybe I should have attacked into Teferi this turn. And then I'm going to cast out this Shadow. How much does this cost me? 2 mana. I think we're just dead. Yeah, they're just going to Atraxa and kill us. I'll concede. Yeah, I'm just dead on board here. That misclick, not good. Okay. I think we're just going to run the same thing back. That was so brutal. I feel like shaving a Fury or 2. Like, Fury doesn't seem great. I think I'm going to do that. Okay. I don't know that we necessarily should have lost that game. That was a rough one. Okay. Game 3. Let's go. Okay, opening 7. I don't think our mana is good enough, so I think we have to mulligan this one. 6-card hand is slow, but we do have good mana here. I will keep this, and I'll bottom a Fable, I guess. Start on land, and then pass the turn. So we have binding for whatever their planeswalker is. We can curve into a binding on, so we can go binding turn 2 if they cast a Wrenn and 6 into a Fable on turn 3. We have to have a Ragavan, so we can deal with that. Yield until the end step. It's weird that this deck plays Ragavan. Kavu. Kavu's bigger than Ragavan, that's for sure. I wonder if we just play out the Kavu. I think that's probably correct. Let's see if they have an answer for this. Oh, mistapped my mana. It was actually a pretty good draw here. So now if they swing in with this Ragavan, they have a Bolt, we'll let it happen. Like, we'll take that hit. And I don't think, I guess they can binding with this configuration. So there it is, okay. That's fine. We'll take a hit for 2, they'll get a mana from the Ragavan. We'll see what they reveal off the top. Hopefully not a Thoughtseize. Okay, just a land, we're okay with that. That was our basic though. Of note, okay. So we have a binding. So I think what I do here is maybe like binding. No, I don't like binding their binding. I think maybe just like the mana efficient play. Like get down the Fable and then go from there. Okay, they play out their Breeding Pool. They're down to 13 here. 2 mana, another binding. So they'll get rid of our token. They'll swing. See what's on the top here. So if they hit something like a Scion, they'll actually... Okay, so they can actually cast that. So that's a pretty relevant threat. I guess the question is now, I think they're taking themselves off counterspell mana, so I think they're debating whether or not they want to do that. Oh, they don't cast it, okay. I guess if they haven't hit a land drop, they'll be able to still. No, okay. Okay, discard 2. So I think I'm actually going to discard the Binding and the Shadow Prophecy. And then, okay, so we have a Blast. And then from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cast out the Scion and leave up Binding to deal with what they're doing. So if they have a Beseiju, they'll be able to hit down my Scion right here and now, which they don't do. I think that was 3 Scions in a row right off the top, because they hit one off the Ragavan and then we drew into 2. 3 out of 4 cards were Scions. 3 mana, 4 mana, Omnath, okay. And I'm actually gonna binding this Omnath with the trigger on the stack so they can't gain more life from here. They can't abuse its ability here. No attacks. Okay, moving back to our turn. So we have our Fable. Play out a land here. I'm gonna swing for 4 at them. And I'm gonna cast another Scion out. So we're representing lethal next turn, so they need an answer to all this. And then if they do kill one of these Scions with a Beseiju or something like that, we can put it back on top and then blast them from there. Or at least try to blast them from there. They also need to get rid of this Reflection because it represents an extra Scion. Okay, they're up a land. Feels like another Omnath. Yes, okay. Okay, they're up to 12. Sure. They fetch. See if they go down to 9 from here. Teferi, sure. Interesting they didn't attack with the Teferi there, or with the Ragavan. I think you want to pressure me in that instance. So from here, I'm in a position where I can copy this Scion and swing for 8. They have 1 mana up. I think we're going to do that. I think we're just going to attack them down to 3 here. Okay. And now what I can do is I can blast them and just try to get the win, which I don't know if that's kind of risky. Kind of risky, or I can just play out my other Scion, which they've got to deal with then. Tricky, tricky. I think I'm just going to take the opportunity to blast them now while I can. We'll be down to 8, so we're almost just dead on board if I do this, though. This is a very risky play. What do we have in the deck? We have 2 bolts, 4 Thoughtseizes, and then 3 Kavus, and then everything else is lethal. So how many hits do we have? 3, 6, 7, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. We have 20 hits that are just lethal from here. So this is like a make or break situation. I'm going to take it here. All right, we're doing it. Spin the wheel here. Do we get lucky? What do we reveal? A bolt. All right, we'll kill the Ragavan and we'll yield through the turn. That puts me in a pretty bad situation for next turn, though. That was a risky line. I don't think that was definitely not the best line. You know, you see it and you go for it. Okay, they plus. What do they do from here? They're up to 7. They fetch. So they can hardcast an Atraxa from here. Shadow Prophecy, sure. They can no longer hardcast an Atraxa from here. 2 cards. They're down to 4. A Coatl, sure. A Ragavan, sure. Doesn't really change too much, though. Put us down to 2, and now if they have a bolt, we're just dead. I think they're looking for a bolt off the top of our library, and they pull a Scion. Okay. And they don't cast it. Interesting. Okay, so Witch's Cottage. So this is interesting. So I think I copy the Scion. Maybe I lead on a Scion. Copy a Scion, and then we're going to swing for 8. Binding. Target. Okay, and then from here, I kind of can't really attack. All right, so we're just gonna pass the turn from here. I think we're probably dead, if I had to guess. Okay, yeah, so that spells lethal. We'll concede. All right, I think I might have punted that one away. Another blast on top. Okay, I definitely punted when I misclicked, so 1-1. All right, we are back. Match 3, Modern League. We are playing against Ketofol. Pretty sure I've played against this person before. We are going to be on the draw, and we cannot keep this hand. Shout out to Ketofol. It just showed me some love. I appreciate that. This 6-card hand we can keep. I'm always inclined to think that when I'm playing against somebody and they tell me they like my content, that they may be a Yawgmoth player. They might be. We'll keep this, and I'm going to ship the Godless Shrine, I think. Yeah, I think we're going to do that. So the plan here is turn 2 Kavu, turn 3 Scion, and then go from there. All right, they play out a Spire Bluff. Not a Yawgmoth player. We'll lead, so I need to lead Marsh Flats here, and we'll pass the turn. Okay, so they're playing Murktide. Murky Murk. Calibrated Blast, pretty good against them. Pretty good. They do have Blood Moons in their deck, though, so that's something we're going to have to deal with. So we get the Lounge here, and then we'll get the Temple Garden here. And I wonder if I lead on the Scion here, just because if they put it into my graveyard, it gives me some room to put it on top with the Witch's Cottage that we just drew. So I think I'm actually going to do that. I almost want them to counter this, like if they're going to use a counter spell. I'm okay with that. Okay, no counter, sure. Imagine it's going to die. They said, well, that's not Yawg. Definitely not Yawg. Nope. This is the farthest thing from. Oh, tricky, tricky, tricky. I'm diversifying here, you know? You gotta diversify your portfolio. Run some Scion of Dracos from time to time. And some Calibrated Blasts. All right, we will yield through the turn. So I got 3 mana up, so they're representing Archmage's Charm. We're drawing more lands, which I'm actually happy about. I am not upset we're finding some lands here. We will attack with the Scion, put them down to 16. They are very close to blast range at this point. And I'm going to play out my Delta because it's my worst fetch land. And then we'll play out a Kavu. See if this gets countered. It does not. Yikes. The Phyrexian Police are going to be called because I'm not playing Yawg. Okay, they fetch end of turn. They get a Polluted Delta. With the Polluted Delta, they get a basic island. Look at the top card of their library. So they have another land in hand. They're down to 13. They bolt, targeting me. That's interesting. They have 3 card types right now. I guess they're just trying to get a Murktide into play, which we can deal with. I think I'm going to get Godless Shrine here to have a second white source. Or do I get Blood Crypt? I think Blood Crypt's probably better. Okay, so they heat my Kavu, which only deals at 2. And then they're going to bolt my Kavu. Okay, that's fine. And they have 1 mana up. And we draw into a Blood Crypt. Alright, we will swing for 4, put them down to 9. And we will play out this Fable, of which I did not tap red mana with any of those. And I'm going to play out Blood Crypt tapped and pass the turn. So they have 3 cards in hand. Their resources are getting pretty low here. And they have 5 mana in play, 2 cards in hand, and they are getting a little low on life. Another Kavu. Do I want to discard anything? I don't think so. I think I actually like my hand. So we will move to combat from here. Make a treasure. They've used all their bolts. They're going down to 3. And then see if they have another counter spell here. I'll play out the Kavu. If they have a counter spell, they haven't cast any as of yet. There it is. Okay, sure. They have 1 card in hand. So they have to deal with our board and the Calibrated Blast in our hand. And if they do deal with our board, if they get rid of this Scion, we'll just put it back on top and then just blast them. So, Monkey. Sure. Monkey is fine. Not that big a deal. Monkey hits a Leyline Binding, which they can actually cast that, so they can tap 4. They can use all of their mana to cast that Leyline Binding. I supposed I could have binding the monkey, but I don't think the monkey really matters. Now they're tapped out, they're just dead. We'll hit them with the token, and then we'll blast them from there. So this is just guaranteed lethal here. I'll just get a basic swamp. Okay, and a scoop. Alright, we're up a game. Blue-red Murktide, we're going to bring in Thought Seizes, Terminates. I feel like having an answer to Blood Moon's probably important. We're also going to bring in a basic. And then shaving, I'm going to shave a land. Definitely at least 1 land. Bringing in a lot of stuff here. I wonder if do we just get rid of like Blast altogether? Is that just like too cute? And we just kind of turn into a control deck? Or just like a Jundi style deck? I wonder if we do that. I'm going to try that in this game. Get rid of the Blast, get rid of the Shadows, and we're just going to kill them with like value. Just big creatures and removal. I don't know if this is a good enough game plan, but this is what we're going to try. We'll see. I wonder if Kavu just isn't good enough based on the fact that they have... I feel like Kavu might not be good enough. Maybe that was the card to pull. Okay, they keep a 7. I think our 7 is not good enough. We're going to mulligan this. Alright, this isn't great, but I think we're going to keep, and we'll bottom the Cottage. See, it's pretty slow. They have a turn 1 Ragavan. It's really bad. They do not, which is nice. Thoughtseize, not bad. So I think I lead on the Lounge here. And then next turn, depending on what they do, I either Thoughtseize or terminate a threat. Steam Vents into the graveyard, sure. No basics on their side of the field. Okay, we drew into a Kavu. That's actually pretty good. So I'll play that out. There's a good chance this gets countered. Maybe I'm supposed to hold it for a turn. Spell Snare. Ouch. That's okay though. This is a Blood Moon, that's going to be rough. Yeah, that's rough. I didn't really play around that with the fetch land, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Another Thoughtseize, not great. Got our Fable here. So, can fix our mana if they have something like a Bolt. They'll take us off that, but they cannot counterspell anything from this point forward. Iteration, sure. See what they reveal. Spire Bluff, that will come in untapped, and then if they have a Bolt, they'll be able to hit our Shaman. Okay, nothing. Is our Shaman going to get through? Okay. I would like to discard 2 cards. I will discard a Thoughtseize and a Witch's Cottage. Okay. And I would like to move to combat. Nope, I don't get the opportunity. This is a Braid, I guess. Okay, we did get our treasure. I'm going to use it to Thoughtseize them now. Let's see what they're working with. I think they're trying to dress down. So from here, I think I get rid of the Fury. That's the card I'm most concerned about. And we'll play at our Marsh Flats and then pass the turn. Just because Fury, I mean, it's going to wipe our board here. So they have Dress Down, Ledger Shredder, Dragon's Rage, and Consider. So they can only cast one of these blue spells as their hand stands. So they can go Shredder into Channeler. They do have 4 card types. They discard the Dress Down, sure. Yeah, we really need to find our basic swamp. That's going to be very important for us. We have 3 cards in hand. We know one of them. No basic swamp. Or our wear tears are also viable. Yeah, we'll play out Godless Shrine here. And I don't think we can attack, so I think we're just going to pass the turn. I mean, if I do attack, I can kill one of these creatures, but I don't think that's good enough. I think we have to wait till next turn, hope that these 2 survive, which is probably unlikely, and then from there we can start attacking with a copy of the token. Alright, they do nothing to start with. They'll attack. Attack, down to 11, sure. This feels like Bolt, a Ragavan, okay. Okay, we're okay with Ragavan. They have a Consider in hand. Dress down, they discard a land, discard another land, moving back to our turn. There it is. It doesn't really change too much though. Our hand actually isn't very good. Like, we don't really have that much going on. So I can Wear Tear the Blood Moon, which I think we're gonna do. I think we're just gonna do this right now, just so we don't get punked out of the game, as they say. All right, and then we can fetch basic if we need to. So we have this Terminate up now. They have 3 cards in hand. They'll be able to use this Consider. I mean, I guess there wasn't really that big of a risk for us not to Wear Tear. We probably should have waited on the Wear Tear. And keep a card on top with the Consider. Got it. Maybe end of turn I should have copied the Reflection. I should have done that sooner. They'll heat our Reflection here. Put a bunch of cards in the graveyard. Another Blood Moon in the graveyard. They'll pump the Shredder. Shredder's a 3/5 now. I don't know that we necessarily have a good answer to these Dragon's Rage Channelers. I don't really have too much that can deal with them. I am going to hit this. I think I'm going to hit the Shredder though. We need to preserve our life total a little bit. Otherwise we're just dead next turn. It's going to be a counter spell. I don't know that we really have an out from here. I don't know. Okay, we're going to take a hit for 6. Our Goblin's going to go away, and I'm going to fetch EOT. Guess I'll get a Sacred Foundry. I don't really know what I need at this point. Maybe another green source was the right move. I only have 1 green source, but we're not really doing much of anything. Alright, so that gets me... I'm going to lose 2 life here. Fury into Fury, what does that do? If I had another red card, that would be nice, but I don't. Yeah, I think I just lose. Okay, go to game 3 here. Alright, so I'm going to bring the blasts back in. I'm going to shave on the Kavus. Kavu's pretty nice on the play though. Maybe I don't do that. Keep like 2 shadows in. Maybe not. Maybe I don't need the shadows. Maybe it's just 4 blasts, maybe 3 blasts, just to have that as an out. We'll shave on the Shadow Prophecy, a Kavu, and 1 Thoughtseize. Maybe I keep 1 shadow in just to have it. Wear Tear Fable. I'm gonna go down to 2 Thoughtseizes. I think we're fine with that. Like, I feel like I'm the aggressor this game, so I just need to clock him here. Alright, I like this hand. I like it a lot. We're gonna keep it. As long as we can dodge a Spell Snare, I think we're pretty good. So we'll lead on our Verdant and then pass the turn. Land. Untapped. Dragon's Rage. Sure. Bobble. Sure. My opponent looks at my top card when I've got the Catacombs in play and they say it's time to punt. We'll yield until the end step here. And we will fetch. And this is... Alright, so we'll get our Delirium in play. Kind of sucks we're not going to be able to bolt EOT, but I think we kind of have to do that. I think we just have to establish our board presence here. So if they don't hit Delirium this turn, I'm imagining they probably will, but if they don't, this Kavu will pose a big threat. And the reason I'm casting this first instead of the Scion is because they did show a Spell Snare last game, so I want to get this down. Maybe I should have cut the Shadow Prophecies. I feel like they're probably not good enough here. Our opponent doesn't do anything. Okay, they attack. Yeah, I will block. I will take that. Fetch, 3 card types. Like, I'm fine if they want to make this trade. Oh, okay, so they're going to Dress Down. Dress Down just kills it, though, I think. Bolt. Okay, so that's 4 card types. Sure. Sure. I'm okay with that trade. It was a 2-for-1, so we'll take that. They have 5 cards in hand. 2 mana. We drew into that. I'm going to play out my Scion here. I'm going to preserve my life total a little bit and play around a Spell Pierce. And I'm going to play out the Shrine tapped. That might have been a mistake. I probably should have played out the Catacombs just in case they have a Blood Moon. That was a mistake. So they're fetching here. Yeah, I should have played out that. That was a mistake. Alright, but I mean, we can cast most of the cards in our hand around a Blood Moon, so we're okay with this to an extent. Sacred Foundry. Play our Fable, get a 2/2. Now, if they have an Unholy Heat, they're going to be able to kill our Scion. We do still have the Blast in our deck, too, so we do have that kind of haymaker. If we need it, we have our Furies. We have a lot of red cards. So they are taking us off of Delirium, or off of Domain, but we do have things we can do around this. All right, Iteration, let's see what they reveal. Land, Shredder. Oh, turn off auto yields. Let's see if I click that in time. We're going to kill the Shredder. Back to our turn. So now we can cast this Shadow Prophecy with our Shaman. Okay, that's actually pretty good too. Yes, I'm going to get rid of a land. Nice. So we'll lead with 6, and then we're going to cast another Fable out. So it feels like we're pretty far ahead at this point. Second Fable, another Goblin, and pass the turn. I don't know if we actually are going to have time for this Shadow Prophecy. Bolt one of the Shamans, sure. 2 cards left in hand. 2, this is a Murktide, which I don't think we care too much about. So we'll be an 8/8, I would imagine. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it'll be a 7/7. 7/7 Murktide. And they have 1 card in hand. Okay, we'll transform first. And from here, I'm going to draw 1 again. I'm going to save this Shadow Prophecy. Alright, Scion we will be discarding next turn. Another Fable, another token. I think we just pass from here, and then next turn we can kind of go crazy. Once you start accumulating multiple reflections, the card just gets crazy, gets nuts. 1, 2, 3, another Blood Moon. Not great. Not great for my opponent. And we're going to be pretty close to lethal next turn, especially if we draw a direct damage spell like a Bolt or a Blast. Fury's pretty good too. Yeah, I think this might just be over for our opponent. I'm going to discard the Prophecy and the Scion here. 2 more lands. Not really what we want, but... Alright, so what can I do here? So I can play out a land, Fury, then I'll copy the Fury with the Fable. Okay, and that does it. Too many Fables. GG's. 2-1. Alright, we are back. This is match 4 of our Modern League. We are playing against maelphix. They have revealed a Kahira. You don't see Kahira much these days. Our opening 7, we cannot keep this. This is no bueno. No good. They're on the play. They mulligan to 6. We will join them. And this isn't great. Our mana's good though, and I think we're going to keep this for that reason. And then hopefully the Fable can kind of churn our value into something that we want. So turn 1 we'll probably fetch with one of these Catacombs, and then turn 2 we'll have our Domain online. Or no, I lead on the Xander's Lounge. Okay, we'll get rid of one of the Catacombs, and we will yield through the turn because we can't do anything. Inspiring Vantage into Aether Vial. Okay, I know what they're doing. So this is like the aggressive Elementals build. So we're yeah. So next turn our mana will line up really nicely because we'll be able to bolt down a threat plus Verdant Catacombs and have up our Leyline Binding. So that will be good. And I wonder if we just binding down this Vial, like once it gets on 2 or 3 is when it really starts causing problems. But I think that's probably what we're gonna do. Get rid of this Vial. Yeah, I think this is the list with like Lightning Skelemental, and they have run some other weird stuff. I'm guessing. Their mana base is a little funky, a little strange. You don't usually see these cards together. Voice of Resurgence, sure. Fury, not bad. Okay, so I'm gonna fetch Shock, and I will get our Temple Garden. Yes. And then I am going to binding this Vial. I guess from here the question is, do I bolt the Voice or do I just let it be? I know they have some pretty big threats, but I think I'll just bolt this down, just limit their board state. Like we have the Fury, so we can kind of wipe their board from here. Like Fury with this token deals with it pretty efficiently. They can't cast a Lightning Skelemental, which I think is probably their biggest threat. So we'll see what they do from here. Attack for 1, sure. So to me that says they don't have a creature because they would have cast it pre-combat to bump that. So I think they just put Kihira into their hand. They do. Okay. So this is good for us. We're going to save this Bloodstained Mire. We'll play out this, play out our Fable, and then pass the turn. So right now we're just kind of looking like a 5-color domain, good stuff kind of deck. They don't really know what we're doing as it stands. Secluded Courtyard. Don't really know that one. And this is going to be a Lightning Skelemental, I believe. Yes. So we choose 2 cards to discard. Okay, so we're going to take 8. And I'm actually... This is going to die. I might actually... No, the Fury's probably... I'm actually going to discard the Fury here. And we're probably just going to cast out the Shadow. Discard those 2. Kind of stinks with this Fable, but what are you going to do? Skelemental is going to die. Now they have ways to like recur this, which is like kind of their game plan. This card's so much better than Ball Lightning. Remember that one? Ball Lightning? We're going to get rid of Shadow Prophecy here. We'll just put 1 in the graveyard, which is Cottage. So we can put our Fury back on top, which is kind of nice. So we're going to start with an attack for 2. We'll see if we can come back from this one. Good. We got ourselves a treasure. Good. Put them down to 18. We're going to play out our Cottage. Oh, this doesn't trigger? Why didn't that trigger? 3 or more other swamps when which is kind of... Oh, it only triggers when it enters untapped. Okay. So my inexperience with the deck. We'll play out our Shadow, and then we'll pass the turn. We have 4 land, 4 cards in hand. This is 5. Feels like a Fury. Yes. So I'll knock down our Goblin. Sure. Not attacking through this 7/7 though. Okay, moving back to our turn. Our Fable's going to flip here. Definitely didn't want to find another land. That does get us... So that does get us our Fury back, so we'll be able to Cottage that back next turn. So and then that should like kind of lock up their board from there. So Cottage, Fury, Fury 3 and 1, that will wipe those 2 off the board. And then from there we can just start copying the Fury and regulate their board state. As long as this Reflection stays alive. You have 3 cards. We know about the Kihira. So Kihira will actually complicate things a little bit. Turn target artifact or creature with mana value 3 less from the graveyard to the battlefield. And it gets a 1/1 counter. Okay. Oh, and this thing has haste too. Okay, yeah, this is just going to be lethal. Not sure why that took so long to think about. Vigilance, trample, haste. Alright, so we'll go down to 1 here, I guess. So block here, and now we can't fetch with our Marsh Flats, which kind of stinks. Oh no, we're just dead, because this is an 8/3. Yeah, we're just dead. That's lethal. Okay, yeah, we'll concede. We'll move to game 2 here. Okay, so from here, I feel like Thoughtseize is probably pretty good, maybe. Terminates, yes. Path of Peril, meh. Maybe 2 Thoughtseize, 2 Terminate, and then we'll board out, I think a Shadow probably. Oh, Shadow Prophecy feels really bad, just because of how aggressive they are. Board down 1 Shadow of Mortality and bring in another Thoughtseize, and we'll go with this. Yeah, you see this deck once in a blue moon. It doesn't come up very often, but it's tricky to play against. Alright, game 2, we are back on the play. I would like to play first, yes. Can't keep this. We will mulligan. This one we can keep. This hand feels pretty strong. And I think we'll probably ship back the Cottage. Or maybe the Thoughtseize. Probably, I'm actually going to ship back the Thoughtseize, I think. Or maybe not. No, I think the Cottage, actually. I think the Cottage is bad with this hand. Done. So we'll have 4 colors of mana on turn 2, because we'll fetch this for... Oh, actually we can't. Polluted Delta. Ugh. Yeah, our mana sucks. Kind of. Let me look at what my mana base looks like here for a second and figure out what I can do. So Xander's Lounge, Island Swamp Mountain, or the other one, Triome, Plain Swamp Forest. Plain Swamp Forest. No. So I need to get Xander's Lounge with this one, and that will facilitate the turn 2 Kavu. So I'm not going to be able to Thoughtseize on turn 1. Like if this was a different fetch land, I would be able to go turn 1 Tomb, Shock, Thoughtseize, and then if I could get like a Sacred Foundry, it would give me a really good curve 1 into 2. But because this is a polluted delta, it is costing me here. Budget considerations, unfortunate. And now, yeah, we can't hit the Vial, this is a pretty big difference, unfortunately. So we'll get the Xander's Lounge, okay. Marsh Flats, okay, so that gives us domain here. So we will get our Temple Garden, yes. And we'll go red, green, Territorial Kavu, and then pass the turn. So next turn the plan is going to be to Thoughtseize and cast out the Scion. Dealing quite a bit of damage to ourselves off this mana base. Our opponent hasn't seen Calibrated Blast yet, but they did see the Shadow last game, so I think they probably, if they're familiar, they probably know what we're doing. Double Razor Verge Thicket, then pass. There's the Shadow, not a good draw. I'm going to lead on Thoughtseize here and see what they're doing, and then I'll determine what my attacks are going to look like. I guess the Kavu can get rid of this Harbinger, Fulminator. So they are a ways off from casting the Fulminator. Harbinger and Endurance. Yeah, so they know what we're doing. Endurance is kind of weak though. I think we just get rid of the Harbinger, one of them, and just limit what they can do with their mana here. From here I'm going to attack. Okay, we're going to discard the Shadow. I will be able to cast it in just a few short turns, but I don't think that it's worth it. Put their hand over here, just so we can keep an eye on that. So they'll get their Harbinger, sure. They'll chump block with that. Oh, I should have cast the Scion because it would have given the creature trample. That was a mistake. So we're missing out on points of damage here. That should be a pre-combat. Dumb. Yeah, I'm not playing this ideally. So if we lose this by 4 points of damage, that's on me. So there's like a pro and a con to doing it this way. So like if I play out the Scion first, it might change what they get with this Flamekin. Like they might get a Fury to knock down this Scion. So there is a little bit of an argument to hold it, but I think the damage is probably more important. Weird that they wouldn't block here. I think you definitely block. Like the Harbinger has served its purpose. Play 2 life, and our amazing sequencing here. Pass the turn. Okay, so they'll have a Risen Reef on their turn, and then if they don't draw a 2-drop, we'll be able to cut it off of its value. There's the territory we knew about. Risen Reef, sure. Okay, they got a land off that, so that means Fulminator's coming in next turn, potentially. Well, I guess regardless, because they have the Vial up to 3 as well. So they have 2 cards in hand. We know their hand. So they're going to take a big hit here. Land, not bad. So, from here, I think I lead with an attack. I don't think they can block here. Okay. I actually think I'm going to dump the Fury here. Okay, they're down to 11. Let me look at the text on Witch's Cottage one more time. No, actually, we're just going to bolt this down. And then, yeah, Cottage, will that come in untapped? Where's the Cottage? 3 or more swamps. So we will have 3 swamps, so we can get ourselves, I can just put the Shadow on top and then just have that as my spell next turn. So I wonder if I do that. Or I can just put Fury on top, but then they Fulminator me and take me off of being able to cast it. So I think I'm actually going to get the Cottage. What? That's 3 or more other swamps. Oh my gosh. Okay, whatever. Whatevs. Alright, so they're going to be absorbing the Fulminator. They can't really chump block it with it because this thing is first strike and trample, so it's not going to make that much of a difference. Harbinger, sure. I think they need to get like a Fury here. So they can flash in the Endurance, they can Thunderkin. Toughness less than. Okay, so they can cast this Awakener, swing. Strange they're doing this way. Fable, not terrible. I'll play out this land pre-combat, then we're going to move to combat and swing. I'm going to exile this Risen Reef here. Now that I know they have the Awakener. Oh, that's on top of their library, that's not in their hand. My bad. My bad. Okay, so they didn't put their Endurance or their Fulminator into play, so they're kind of relegating themselves to taking a lot of damage here. This is after blockers. Fulminator, sure. Xander's Lounge. Sure. So like I can fetch with the mire and try to get another Witch's Cottage, but then they just endurance in response. So this is fine. We're gonna go down to 9 here, or 8. What land do I want to get? Sacred Foundry, I guess. We'll play out our Fable and then pass the turn. Yeah, we've taken so much damage off our lands. We know what they're gonna draw into, so that doesn't really affect anything. Fulminator's gone, they have the endurance, and they're drawing the Awakener. So they can Awakener, get back a Harbinger, and then they just die on the crackback. So not that big a deal. Oh, they're just going to put Kihira into their hand? Sure. Oh, so their creatures get Vigilance. So that's good for them. We'll take a hit for 4. We'll go down to 4 here. Okay, that's good play from our opponent. Another Scion, pretty good. Okay, we are not going to discard this. No. What does this cost? 4 mana. Okay, so we can cast that. So we're going to swing in for 5, I think. Let's see what happens if we swing with everything. So if we swing with everything, they have to block the Kavu, which is a 4/4. Oh, Kavu's only a 4/4, so we can't attack with that. Oh, they scooped. Okay. Okay. That's fine. Seemed a little premature, but we'll take it. I think we're just going to run this back. Game 3. Alright, game 3, on the draw. Not exactly where we want to be, but it's kind of where we have to be. Black, red. Mulligan to 6. I think we're going to keep this, and I think we're priced into turn 1 Thoughtseize into a 4/4 Kavu on turn 2. Our Scion's going to be a little bit pricier, but I think this is what we have to do here. So we'll get black, red, and green, white. They keep a 6. See if they have either Vial. Turn 1, Harbinger, sure. See what this gets. The Awakener. Another Scion. Based on the fact that I pulled another Scion, maybe I don't Thoughtseize on turn 1. Maybe I wait on that. And we go like Kavu, Scion, Scion. They have a Fulminator on curve though, that's going to mess me up. That's going to be pretty bad. So we'll see if they have that. They have 4 cards. We know one of them. Take it for 1, sure. And the fact they didn't cast out the Awakener tells me they have another 2-drop, I would imagine. Or they're just trying to not expose it to removal. And I think I'm actually going to lead on this Scion, just because if they do take me off of one of my colors, like I won't be able to cast the Scion later, so I'm going to do that first. We won't be able to cast the Kavu either, but it will be easier to get that out as opposed to the Scion at a later time. Alright, so Xander's. Interesting they didn't play anything. I don't know if they have any flash threats outside of Endurance. I don't know what. This can't be a Beseiju. They don't have the mana to cast that. Ephemerate, sure. Let's see what they get off the top here. A Skelemental. Okay, so to me that says they have. So you're going to go Skelemental, which actually isn't that big of a deal. And then we can Thoughtseize them. So I think we're actually okay with this. Yes, we'll pay the 2. And we kind of know their game plan here. They're going to go Skelemental and then the next turn try to go Awakener. But we're going to discard the Awakener, so we'll be able to deal with that. So I think I'm going to lead on the Kavu. It's going to give me more agency with my draws. So I think we're going to go there. And then when they attack us, we'll discard a Thoughtseize and a Cottage. They're not going to blink the Ephemerate because that will just completely negate what they just put on top. So that will go to the graveyard, or exile. There's the Courtyard, Elemental. Here comes the Skelemental. Oh, they just put Kihira into hand. Okay, interesting. So this is giving us an opportunity here. Our best draw from this point is a fetch land. Okay, and I understand why they're not doing that here. They are playing around us eating a card out of their graveyard with the Kavu. But we're going to play around that a little bit. So we'll eat the Elemental. We'll attack, and we'll take that out of the graveyard. So that takes them off of their big game plan for this game. They block, sure. Okay, so they're putting a card in their graveyard to be able to recommission it back. It's our 3rd land, and we'll pass the turn. So they're going to Awakener here. They'll attack, get back the Harbinger. So we'll be tapped and attacking. We'll go down to 11 here. But next turn we'll have 2 Scions in play, which will be pretty good, depending on what they put on top. Okay, and they put a Risen Reef on top, sure. I guess we won't be able to cast 2 Scions, we'll only be able to cast 1. 2 Scions, not 2 Risen Reefs. Okay, we'll start with an attack again. We'll exile this Harbinger. Okay, we're going to play out a Scion here. I think we're going to Thoughtseize away this Recommission. Foundation Breaker. Okay, we'll get rid of the Recommission here, play out another Cottage, and we'll pass the turn. Okay, so they have a Risen Reef, a Foundation Breaker, and a Kahira. So this Thunderkin isn't really doing too much. They can put this Foundation Breaker into play, but I don't think that that's really getting them anywhere. There's the Risen Reef, sure. Okay, they got another land. It's good value for them. Moving back to our turn. Okay, Calibrated Blast. So we can potentially kill them this turn if we draw a fetch land. So I think we just attack to start. Okay, discard the Shadow. Okay, so yeah, we have lethal now. Get a Cottage, put that on top. Yes, and we will blast. That'll be it. 3-1. All right, here we go. This is match 5. All the marbles. Big Z6 is our opponent. We are going to be on the play. We are currently 3-1, playing for the success of a 4-1 or the disappointment of a 3-2. Our opponent, for the second time this league, revealed a Kahira. Odd that we're playing against this card. Our Triple Fury opening hand with 0 lands. I think this is like the second or third time we've had a 0 lander this league. We cannot keep this. We will mulligan. And this 7, I think, is fine. We'll keep it. And I think, we're going to ship back a land. I'd love to have a 3rd land with this hand, but I think for the time being we're going to depend on the top of our deck and hope to draw into a 3rd land. So we'll kind of do what we've been doing. We'll fetch out the Tri-land, and then we'll cast our turn 2 Scion. Hope that deals a substantial amount of damage, and then maybe burn them out or cast a Fury. So our opponent leads on a Triome. We'll get our Xander's Lounge into play. So to me this says we're thinking blue-white control right off the bat. We'll see if that is the case. I don't know how good this hand is against blue-white control. I think the Shadow Prophecy is probably pretty good. Just giving us some card equity, I guess you would say. But we do need another land to be able to cast that. I don't think Fury is going to be particularly great. Binding is fine. We will not hit our 3rd land drop, which is a little unfortunate, but we're dealing some damage here, which is nice. Cancel. So we can Binding for 1. We can also Bolt. Breeding Pool. So this gives our opponent 5 mana here. So if they do have a Binding, they will be able to cast it. 5 land types, or 4 land types actually. So they can't cast a Binding for 1 as it stands. 3 mana Teferi most likely. A little annoying. And we're going to be bouncing our Scion here. Okay, so there's our Delta, which is nice. From here, I'm going to bolt this Teferi down. Just don't want to deal with that. And then I think we get a Blood Crypt. Like, life is not the biggest of issues, so I'm not too concerned about that. Our opponent's at 13, we're at 14. This deck does deal quite a bit of damage to itself off its mana base. 3 mana Risen Reef. Okay, so they're on an elemental build. We will be shooting that down. They're thinking here. I wonder if they're thinking about whether or not they're going to Fury? Solitude. Okay. So they will be getting some value off of that. And now we don't really have a threat, which is a little unfortunate. And they did not hit a land. Okay, there it is. All right. Hitting a land there, not terrible. It's going to come in tapped, though. So not really the land that we wanted. And I wonder if I Shadow Prophecy into Lightning Bolt. I feel like we might need to do that. Oh, cancel. And we didn't hit a land. That's kind of crazy. So we're definitely going to let the Shadow go to the graveyard. And we can just one-shot them with a blast if we find one. I think we'll get a Fable and a Bolt, which is Cottage into play, and then we'll pass the turn from here. Opponent has a full grip here. They play out a land, so they don't have an Omnath. Kind of crazy, we looked at 5 cards there, we didn't see a land. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is an Elishnorn, a Fury. Okay. So just going straight beatdown plan. Should probably for their own Risen Reef there, if I had to say. Probably be the wise move. Swing for 1. Sure. MBD there. Okay, moving back to our turn. Okay, so from here I think I'm going to Fury, kill both of their creatures, and then probably cast out the Fable. Kill both of those. And we're going to leave a Lightning Bolt here. I suppose I could have also left up the Binding. Maybe that was the right move, just in case they have something like another Risen Reef. But then again, Bolt still does the same job, so I don't necessarily need to do that. Yeah, we just need to find a Calibrated Blast at this point. So this is going to be an Omnath, sure. So that would be a reason why we'd want to keep up the Binding. Okay, so they'll go up to 16. And now if they fetch, yeah, we've churned through almost a third of our deck at this point, so just like if the Fable hits a fetch land into Blast will win the game. All right, they bounce our token here, sure. They have 6 cards in hand. They do not have a counter spell out. All right, there's the Blast. So all we need to do is find a fetch land now. So yes, Bolt in Kavu. There's a fetch land. We get a Cottage. Put the Shadow on top. Suppose if they have something like an Endurance, they can cut us off of this line. But if they do not, they're dead. Just a clean 15 right here. That's what we call it. Wonder if our opponent has a Solitude in hand. They're debating whether they're going to Solitude their own Omnath here. And they are. So if I was able to Binding here, I would, but I am not in the position to do so. Yep. 15, you're down to 4. So next turn we can do the same thing again with a Fury and kill them, assuming we get the opportunity to. So there's a nice little 3 for 1 there. We'll see what they have from this point. Uptick the Teferi, sure. 5 feels like another Fury here, sure. They have 3 cards in hand. All right, Shadow of Mortality is our draw here. I'll fetch, Cottage, we're gonna put Fury on top, and we got the game. We're up 1. Pretty sweet. We're gonna bring in 4 Thoughtseizes, and I think that's probably it. I guess there's a consideration. They have Risen Reefs, maybe we bring in the Terminates. And then Shaving. Do I shave a Fury? No. Binding. Shave a Shadow. I don't think we want the Terminates here. On the draw, I think I'm going to shave a land, Kavu, and a Binding. Binding actually seems kind of medium, just because they have Beseiju in the list. So maybe I get rid of those. Get rid of one of them. We'll go with that. Just that one-shot 15. Pretty sweet. All right, how do we feel about this hand? How do you guys like this? Probably not good enough, right? Our opponent keeps a 7. We're shipping. If you could not tell. And our 6, unfortunately, we can't keep this either, so we'll mulligan down to 5. And we can keep our 5. Keep. So we have a turn 2 Kavu. I think we ship 1. And then the Fable or the Calibrated Blast? Probably the Calibrated Blast. And we hope to pull one a little bit later. So we just have like a nice value-oriented hand, and then we'll try to find that in the mid to late game. They're not killing us quickly, so we have opportunities here. They're fetching. I'm guessing this is probably an Oath of Nissa. There it is. And they reveal an Omnath. This is what we know they're working with. Turn 2. Cottage. Alright, so we pulled our 3rd land. I will play at our Xander's Lounge and pass the turn. I'm actually not sure if we can get a green source with this Bloodstained Mire. We don't have a Stomping Ground in the deck. Bloodstained Mire. Okay, so we can get an Overgrown Tomb. We can also get the other Triome to hit our hit domain. Okay, opponent casts out their 2nd Oath of Nissa. They reveal an Endurance. Alright, trying to get fancy on us. 2nd land, tapped, pass the turn. Okay, Binding, not terrible. We're going to fetch. I think I'm going to go for the tomb here. What does this one give us? Plains, Swamp, Forest. So it'll give us the full 5, but I think we want to build out our board plan here. So we'll have 4 in play. So this is out of... Oh, this is only a 4/4. So this can get Furied here, which is a little unfortunate. We know Omnath, we know Endurance, and then they have 5 unknowns in hand. Okay, there's a Solitude. So they just 2 for 1 themselves. I think we're okay with that. Big Z6, do you have another land? They do. Probably not the best land though. 4 cards in hand, we know 2. Alright, and we do not, this Cottage does not come in untapped, which is pretty bad. So we can't cast out these Fables, can't get that going. And we don't have mana for Leyline Binding either. Also pretty unfortunate. There's the Endurance. 3 cards in hand. They shuffle their graveyard. See if Omnath hits. Omnath will hit. Yes, we need to pull a white source on our turn because we need to knock down this Omnath and get a Fable into play. It's going to be very, very important. Oh, okay. Okay, so they're setting up for next turn. So they have a Misty in hand, an Omnath in hand, and 1 unknown. Fetch land, that was what we wanted. That is big. I'll play out our Fable, and we will pass the turn. So we'll use this March Flats to get our, probably our red-white land, our Sacred Foundry, and then we'll binding the Omnath with its trigger on the stack. If they have another Besage, they'll be able to hit it down. I think they play 2 in the deck, but if not, we will be able to deal with it. Okay, they play out their land here and now. Interesting. So they're playing around a binding here. Or not. Okay. Or not. White, green, blue, red. Maybe this is something like a Fury. Or sequencing with the mana here is a little bit weird. Okay. Eladamri's Call, sure. They have 2 cards in hand, we know about Omnath. Another Endurance. Plus, bring a land back. I think they might have messed up there. I'm not exactly sure what they did. So they can't actually cast that Endurance. Alright, we're going to get our other Tri-land now. So the Triome, Plain, Swamp, Forest, yes. Okay. Okay, from here, I think we're going to discard Bolt and Blood Crypt. Okay, so these cards aren't bad. So we can Thoughtseize and then Fable. No. I think I just cast another Fable and then... No, I can just Thoughtseize the Omnath out of hand. I don't have to worry too much about that. So we'll do that. I'll start with the Thoughtseize. Wrenn 6, sure. We'll take the Omnath. So 3 cards, Misty, Endurance, and Wrenn 6. Sure. Another Fable. And we can kind of just start drowning them out in value here. So I could attack in with the Goblin and then binding the Endurance before blocks. And I wonder if that's worth it. They'll put them down to 9, then down to 5 next turn. No, I think we're going to wait. I don't think we need to rush this necessarily. And I think they want to hold this other Endurance, just in case we blast them. 4 cards they have. Fetch land, that's the Misty. We know about that. They're down at 10. So they did not draw an Omnath based on the way they're playing. They'll plus the Wrenn 6. They'll get that back in hand, sure. Oh, this is a Fury. That was a really good draw on their part. Really good draw. Probably the best draw they could have had. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Did me dirty. Big Z6. We're down 12. Alright, drew a 3rd Fable. I don't think we're actually going to discard anything here. I think we're going to keep it all. No. I guess we only have... So I only have 1 red source, so I can go... Another Fable. We'll play that out. Hopefully we can dodge another Fury. And the game plan from here, we're going to probably binding their Fury. Hope they don't have an answer to remove this binding. Alright, there's the Misty. We know about that. See if they fetch again. Their life total is getting a little low. They're at 6 essentially with this Bolt. Land tapped, sure. They plus, bring back the Misty. I wonder if I double block this Endurance if they attack with it. Or do I just take this? I think I just take this and go down to 6. I think I'm going to binding this Wrenn 6, just because they're almost on an ultimate here. Then we'll bolt down the Fury. Alright, Scion, not bad. We're not going to discard anything. Once again, we like what we've got here. Play out the Scion. And now what I can do is I can copy the Scion with the Reflection, swing for 4. They can double block it. So I think we'll actually hold off just for a moment. Then we'll start making some copies, and then we'll swing for lethal next turn, hopefully. Another Endurance here. Sure. They shuffle their graveyard. They have 4 cards in hand. So they can put Kahira into their hand, which would be a little bit problematic, but they do not do that. Okay, I'm going to block with a Shaman token here. I will be bolting this down here. 1, 2, is this like a Dovin's Veto? It is. That's fine. This thing is expendable, so we're okay with that. And we'll see what they do from here. Renin 6. I don't think that's a move. I think you want to get Kahira into play. I think that's a mistake on their part. Fetch, sure. They're down at 8, so now we're representing lethal from here. Plus, they have 1 card in hand, 2 cards in hand. I think they're just dead. Unless they can get rid of this Scion here. 1, 2, 3. They put Kahira into hand. Okay. So if they have like a Solitude, I guess they can... Yeah, but we're going to have 4 Scions attacking in, so... Pretty problematic for them. Alright. What you got? And they scooped. 4-1. 4-1. I'll take it. Alright, so we just ran through a Modern League with Aspiring Spike's newest Cottage Blast list with some small tweaks, some small considerations, some small changes, and I'll be honest, the deck felt powerful. It felt strong. The core of the deck, and what I like about the way that this version of the deck is built, is that, I mean, you're playing good cards, right? You have 4 Leyline Binding, you have 4 Lightning Bolt, 4 Fables, 4 Fury, 4 Kavu, and 4 Scion. So you like, essentially it's the core of a domain deck with some like artistic license running a Fable and a Fury. So very, very strong core. And then you kind of have this accessory part of the deck, this like plan B, where it's Calibrated Blast, Shadow of Mortality, and Shadow Prophecy. If I'm being honest, this part of the deck does feel a little bit like a novelty. It feels a little gimmicky. And I think if I were to do this differently, I don't know, Shadow Prophecy did feel like it kind of underperformed a little bit. So I might see if there's something better that can be run in that spot. And I don't know if there's another like high cost creature that would be a better fit, that would have a little bit more application outside of Shadow of Mortality. But like if you're gonna run the Calibrated Blast package, like these 2 cards did not particularly excite me, or they didn't feel like they performed particularly well. So I'm not too invested in this deck, where I would actually research and try to figure out what the best fits were for those slots, but those would be the cards that I would be looking to switch up and change. And then in addition to that, my mana base was definitely not ideal. Running these polluted deltas was definitely a pretty big deal over the course of that league. It's interesting too, like we 4-1 that league, and the only match we lost, I had a massive misclick with a Thoughtseize where it cost me the game. And I went back and I watched part of that game, and the game was very close, and I think there's a good chance it could have gone either way. But with that being said, like the misclick that we had definitely cost us the game without question. So we very possibly could have gotten a 5-0 with this list. So, you know, I'll change my tune a little bit. This deck, you know, on an initial impression, it looked very janky. It looked very disconnected, and this version of it, at least, is definitely more cohesive than what I had initially thought. So props to Spike for putting together a solid list and a solid build of something where, like, Calibrated Blast initially, it was a meme deck, and it was not anywhere near a viable strategy. But I think if you're going to build a deck with this card, you can't have the variance that the initial builds have. So I like the idea. I think there's room for improvement. I don't know if this is going to be a thing, but it performed well for me today, despite my many play errors, fetching witches, cottages with only 2 black sources in play, etc. and so on. So I had fun with this. Spike, props to you for continuing to innovate within the format. Props to my viewers for calling me out for kind of poo-pooing this deck before giving it a real chance. And yeah, it's cool. I'd be interested to see if this actually becomes something in the upcoming months as the format continues to evolve. So thank you everybody for tuning in. As always, thank you for supporting this channel. I am eternally grateful for your support, and I will see you all again 2 days, Wednesday. I'll see you there. Yawgmoth on Wednesday. Everybody, you know the deal. Thank you. Continue to be well. I'll see you next time.